Hello everyone and welcome to the BSGCS Playoffs pre-show. The show is going to be split into 3 parts. Part 1 is a roundtable discussion with some guests, Part 2 is some interviews with team representatives, and Part 3 is the MVP announcements. If you want to skip to 1, there should be some boxes with annotations popping up any second now. So, on the next section of the video, we're going to be having a roundtable discussion on playoffs with Army, Blaze, Fridge, and Dota, as well as myself. So, yeah, let's begin. So the first match is Never Back Down versus ESG. First quarterfinal match. Who's going to win and why?
Well, as the manager, I'm going to have a very biased opinion starting right off the bat. So, as per being such a manager, I would have more favoritism towards, well, Never Back Down coming out on top in this one. I liked what they've done over the Super Week, the drastic improvements that they've made as a team whole. They have basically pretty much dominated in a lot of their performances so far, averaging about 20 to 30 to 40-minute games-ish. I think it's like mostly 30s, I'd say. And not only that, but they've been practicing a little bit more on comp construction. So it's actually going to be pretty interesting to see what's going to happen with their team coming up into that playoff game. I think ESG should have a good fight, but I think Never Back Down's got the better one.
All right. Please, go.
Yes, alright. To that of which I want to say, you have some good points, and if it weren't for the mysterious disappearing stats page, I would bring up some numbers as well, but from the top of my head, I see where you're coming from. 17-17 KDA King, Spider Queen, right after you then have, I think you had 56 kills, something really ridiculous like that. However, despite that, I'm going to say that I think ESG are primed to win this, because they've had moments of brilliance that they just need to tweak. Against Guardian Gaming, they almost managed to beat them, I believe. ESG have been looking better and better as the split's been going on, and I feel like Never Back Down's kind of stayed the same. They've been consistent, they've been good, but we're splitting hairs here with 4th and 5th. So with that said, I'm going to say that ESG can actually win the match 2-1. They have the surprise factor, Never Back Down doesn't.
All right, Fridge, you're next, I suppose.
All right. Well, for the same reason as Army kind of has, I'm a member of ESG, so I'm going to be a little bit biased here myself. I'm obviously not in your NBD practices or anything like that, but I am in the ESG practices, and I know they've been putting forth a lot of effort getting ready for the playoffs. There's some pretty good old comps that we're bringing out, and also we got a few tricks up our sleeve as well. So obviously not going to share anything too much on that, but we've been working pretty hard to improve just as an all-around team and our shot calling and everything like that. So I think we're going to be ready for it.
All right, Dota, you're up.
Absolutely wrong. Absolutely. So, NBD, I think, is just a better all-around team. Really. I think the only weak point for NBD, really has been the top, Thrivey, which he's kind of come online the past couple weeks. Fred is absolutely just, I don't even know how to word this without making people feel bad, just stomping bot lane. Like, Fred and the Spider Queen are just raffle stomping kids in lane, 2v2 every time. 3v2 sometimes. ESG, I think, really, Fridge has been doing pretty well, I'd say. Gets a little too hard in the paint in the mid and late game. Sorry, Fridge, I love you still. But I would say, honestly, that's because he feels the need to carry. Because ESG need Fridge to carry. And that's not a bad thing to want your top laner to carry. But Epic Dragon has been hit or miss. The mid laner, Sivian, I believe, hit or miss again. BJ is, I don't know, bottom half ADC. JBD kid, probably bottom half support. So really, you're basically saying, hey, hopefully our mid laner does well, because he's been hit or miss. Fridge, carry us. Everyone else, stay calm. Meanwhile, you got GVG, who's been doing pretty well lately. Plentykill is putting on solid performances. Thrivey, like I said in the beginning, was a feeder, but now he started popping off, so I don't know if maybe he's gotten a little more comfortable, or if maybe he's playing different champs. I'd have to go back and look at why he's doing so much better. And then you got the bot lane with Fred and Spider Queen just absolutely dumpstering kids. So while it's plausible, I don't see this as being 100% slam dunk for NBD. I'd feel honestly pretty comfortable saying NBD can pull out the 2-0, maybe 2-1, but I would say it's pretty handedly in NBD's favor. The only way I really see ESG winning this is if they try to target ban either Thrivey or Fred. Those would be the one things I would work on. I don't know if we're doing that or not. Am I jumping the gun?
No, that's fine. So as for me, I think Never Back Down. I think they're gonna win too. I think they started out looking pretty okay. Then now they're looking really okay. Both the teams have looked really okay, basically the whole split. But ESG looks slightly less okay. And also, I think whatchamacallit, Never Back Down. They have more ways to win, where like Dodo was saying, in my opinion, the only way that ESG wins is through Fridge. He's here right now, but that or Sivian does really well. I have seen him have good games, but yeah. Anyone have any? Now that all the predictions are after the first series, does anyone have any rebuttals?
Well, I do have a bit of a rebuttal when it comes to the points that both Blaze and the Fridge made, but I'm just going to keep it to a simple gesture here. We had a bit of a fight between Never Back Down and ESG, and Never Back Down won that scrap in that situation. Did a very good job of capitalizing on a lot of good plays, and Sivian was struggling the most out of all of those situations because of the fact that his jungle was a little not really communicating well with Sivian, and Sivian ended up struggling very badly with the Anivia in the mid lane through most of the game. And I watched that. I've given that video a few watches, and no matter how I look at it, I feel like Sivian is kind of getting sabotaged by his own team at times, and I'm concerned really for their chances of giving a good fight to Never Back Down in those regards here. Might be a little bit of extra flame, so I will apologize to anybody who does get a bit offended, because I'm pretty sure I'm quite known around here for messing with people and kind of ticking them off in a certain way. So especially you, Mr. Jeremy. But all I want to say here to finish up is I feel like Never Back Down does have the edge against Epic Sex Guy Gaming.
All right. Sorry.
I want to say something to Dota really fast. I know we both agreed on who's going to win, but I know you're talking about BJ. It's going to be announced in a couple minutes after this thing ends in the show, but he's actually on the All-Star team.
Who, BJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because people don't know what they're voting for.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
All right,
goodness.
let's get off.
Oh boy.
I just want to offer a short rebuttal to Army here quick. I know that you guys may have won last time, and that's all fine and dandy for you guys. Congratulations on that. But I think the team that you see this weekend is going to be very different than the team that you saw in your last matchup with us. So I know we've struggled historically in the mid to late game, but we've been working really hard at that lately. So I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not pleasantly, but we will.
Okay, fair enough. I see your point.
All right, so are we on? I guess we're on to series number 2 then. It's going to be Have Faith versus All One Lane. We'll go from the top down again. Army, you can start. Who do you think's going to win and why?
Well, from this perspective, I'm no longer biased when it comes to... I had a little bit of favoritism for Never Back Down quite clearly in the last few conversations, but I want to say a little bit more analytically. for both sides here. The thing is, I'm actually kind of conflicted. They're both actually quite different than the last time we've seen them. Like they've improved in certain ways. They've changed their rosters quite a lot. I mean, the last time I checked Half Faith, they had a completely different team going into the final Super Week. So it's really interesting to see if Half Faith is as dominant as they have been in the past, because things have changed quite drastically since the departure of the Rich Pritch and the key handing of, to hand over the keys to Joker Noter. But then things kind of went quite, drama speaking here, went kind of all over the place. And then all of a sudden Joker Noter just said, I'm not going to be a part of this team anymore. So it's just a drastic difference for Have Faith here, which at first I would have said was going to be the favorites for that type of matchup, because All One Lane was kind of like a little bit of having a similar issue. But now All One Lane is kind of in the same ballpark as Have Faith, and I would even dare say All One Lane has a really good shot to go 2-0, depending on circumstances, because Leaf of Freeze and Weirdly really showed a lot of good stuff for the Super Week. So I don't know. If I have to make a choice here, I think All One Lane actually has a bit of a surprise 2-0, I would say, against Have Faith due to their sudden roster changes.
All right, I guess we'll switch up the order. I'll go next. I'm gonna have to agree with you, Army. I think that ever since about halfway through, All One Lane has been trending up, and Have Faith has been trending down. They originally had that really dominant roster at the beginning of the split with I believe it was Joker, the Rich Pritch, Breezy, Cannibal Turtle, and Jinx to Victory. Jinx to Victory is still there, still looking very good, but the problem is the rest of the team has been on a bit of a downward spiral ever since. A lot of out-of-game reasons, but I would say that All One Lane stand a really good chance. Although my only worry is, I know that, at least I'm fairly certain, I think I saw him leave the server. I don't think Hero Termina is on their roster anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah, that I'm not sure either. I definitely need to double check the roster to be sure. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Would you know, Blaze?
I would be unaware.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure he's no longer on the roster.
That's a shame, really. I really liked his opportunity to become...
That's the only thing I worry about for All One Lane, because even when they were bottom of the barrel, which they were for a while, like a long while, he would actually perform pretty well in all their games. In fact, he was my MVP vote for best ADC, and having him not on the roster anymore, we'll see what they can do, but...
Yeah. I had that as well, by the way, Manwalrus.
Yeah, I'm thinking, though... Actually, I think Have Faith are going to pull it together, and I think they're going to win 2-1.
Dang, I didn't think you were going to convince yourself.
Going to flip it around. I changed my own mind. All right. Anyone else want to go now?
I'm up next. I'll just go. I'm actually going to say 2-0 Have Faith, despite the fact that there have been several changes that have happened, a little bit with both teams, much more with Have Faith. I feel that All One Lane, while that they have improved massively over the split, they are a very predictable and frankly easy to ban away team. Apto Crown Faker, ban Evelyn, Hero Terminia is no longer gone, Kidafire, I think, most played champion is Annie. You can target ban these players and really whittle down their roster, and most of All One Lane's games have been long, 40-minute games, close to 50, late 30s. You can, I think, Have Faith have the abilities and the tools, despite all the roster changes, to end the game quickly and not let All One Lane get to that magic timeline where they just start to do things correctly. That, and not to diss him completely, but I think Breezy no longer being on the team expands Have Faith's dynamic. Before with Breezy, they had an AD assassin in the mid lane consistently. They had Riven, they had Kayn, they had Talon, they had Gangplank, and that made their compositions very one-dimensional. I feel like with him no longer on the team, you're going to have much more Syndra, much more Galio, much more strategy coming out of Have Faith, and I feel like with how things are going so far, especially with Hero of Terminia being gone, that Half Faith can actually pull out a 2-0 here.
All right. Fridge or Dota, whichever one he wants to go.
All right, I'll go. I do think all one lane is completely capable of the quote-unquote upset. As we've mentioned, there have been a lot of roster changes for Have Faith, and I don't necessarily think that hurts them this week, though. I'm still going to give it to Have Faith. As I mentioned, all one lane completely capable of that upset, but I feel like in terms of top lane, and I know this game was not streamed because there was some Twitch issues at the time, what ESG had done was they just banned the Shen, and Leaf of Freeze felt really uncomfortable on the Gnar that he picked that game. And I've really only seen him play Shen outside of that game, so that's why we decided to ban it. And he just seemed a little uncomfortable on it. So unless he's been working hard on other champions, I would say just ban the Shen, and the top lane was a relatively easy win. On top of that, I've heard some rumors through the grapevine of a Breezy return on Have Faith. So that's a possibility, and if it does happen, I don't know if it would be at mid lane, if it would be at AD carry, or where they would be putting him, but that's what I've been hearing. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but I'm still going to, regardless, give it to Have Faith.
All right, Dota, you're up.
All right. Blaze, I don't know what you're smoking, but it is the finest in the East Coast. Because if you think Breezy was a hindrance to Have Faith, then you were gone, my man. Breezy was hard carrying Have Faith, sometimes kicking and screaming to victory. Breezy would dominate on ADC. I mean, he had one or two poor performances on mid. Don't get it twisted. But for the most part, his mid was solid, and his ADC was top-notch. FXZ did not have a good showing. Granted, he only played, like, a couple games with them, so can't really just, body slam him too hard for that. But he, nonetheless, did not do well. I think Jinx to Victory is their shot caller. So I'm assuming, since he was shot calling, not too much was changing in the way of dynamics. It was mostly just came down to skill and mechanics. So if Breezy's coming back, it's a hard 2-0 for Have Faith. Because honestly, all one lane haven't really seemed like they pay attention in the pick ban phase. There's been multiple times where I'll watch their games and they're banning like the mid laner after the mid laner picked his #1 champ, and they'll throw 2 bans his way, or they're banning AD carries that the other team doesn't even play. So I don't think they really do their research. I think they just kind of show up on game day and they're like, hey, what's really good? Ban that. I will say Kid of Fire, that guy, I've seen him play like 3 different roles on the team, and every role he carried. So he's literally this team's chance of winning. Hero of Termina, he's a decent ADC. He just kind of sits in lane, doesn't do anything, then gets to late game, has decent positioning, does okay. But basically, their top lane loses, their jungle loses, their bot lane loses. The mid lane does well until the jungler just says, okay, well, every other lane's losing. I'm just going to pitch a tent here. Then he gets behind. So really, they really don't have anything good for them. They lose the pick ban phase. They lose all their lanes. Meanwhile, I just think Have Faith's going to go in there, do a few bans, and then if Breezy comes back, it's a hard 2-0. If Breezy doesn't come back, I still say that Have Faith does the 2-0, but there'll be probably a couple moments where people are holding their breath. But all in all, I just think Have Faith is just a much better team.
So I believe, do we all pick Have Faith except for Army? Or...
Except for Army, yep.
All right, Army, defend yourself.
Well, I've never been a individual who has won an argument based off of facts, statistical, and emotion. I've never won an argument not so far in the duo esports with those in mind. So you can take take this point of perspective with a grain of salt, everybody. But the thing that I really liked about history-wise between both of these teams is Have Faith was fighting, gunning for the top spot for a long while since the very beginning. They basically had been one of the top fighting teams that have been like slowly crawling their way through the standings from the very low foot. I believe they were 5th and 6th place at one point to jumping all the way to 2nd through great gameplay, I mean, some teams had to go because of rule breaking, but but the Half Faith had managed to get a lot of great wins, and they were actually at one point gunning for the top spot, and they almost had their opportunity to get it with what happened to Guardian Gaming. But in the end, Have Faith ended up sticking right into the position that they got themselves carved into. Whereas it's kind of the opposite of the story for All One Lane. They kind of actually had a bit of a worser of the two deals when it comes to gameplay. They basically managed to get themselves in to these playoffs with, unfortunately, not even the team that they started off with. They had a lot of rotational changes, a lot of positional swaps. They had quite a number of new guys brought in for the Super Week. I mean, that's exactly similar if you look at it statistically from Have Faith to All One Lane. They both have, like, at the last Super Weeks, they had to change their rosters because of circumstances and drama. But this is just kind of like a bit of a different take because All One Lane had to change their rosters to get themselves stronger, where Have Faith had to grab themselves some players to get their roster filled out. And I think All One Lane, because of these roster changes and because of the Kid of Fire's greater improvement out there, I feel like if Have Faith doesn't take the game seriously, All One Lane can surprise them with a 2-0. I think it's very possible. Have Faith might be walking into this game could be walking into this game with a bad mentality about their opponent. And that is extremely possible. It's not like guaranteed. I mean, who knows? It might end up becoming a 1-for-1, and then the final game is going to be a bit of a situation where Have Faith might end up coming out on top. But I'm saying All One Lane happens to have talent. They happen to have the type of players that they can really rally around. And Kid of Fire happens to be a guy that's on fire. He's a hot player, and I think he might be able to get himself in with some good players around him. I think he might be able to take this away from Have Faith.
Yeah, well, I agree with the fact that the upset is possible. I do think that it's just that Have Faith has more reasons or more ways to win. That's probably it.
Fair assessment.
I've been saying it. I casted their early games. Even I've casted a lot of Have Faith games, and I will say I think that Jinx to Victory is hands down the best support in the league. And I think their bot lane, especially if Hero of Termina is in fact gone, I think that the Have Faith bot lane will probably end up winning. But that's both games predicted, obviously. Who do you guys... I know we were going to go on to some more general playoff discussions. Blaze wanted to talk about something.
Yes, I actually want to bring up a discussion point that all of us will actually participate in, and that is going to be percentages for which team you think can realistically win the whole thing. Now, with these percentages, I'm going to go down the line, and these are not set to 100%. Keep them realistic, keep them at 20%, but don't be afraid if you're saying, Guardian Gaming 50, and then you put in a few other teams at 20% or something. We're not worried about that. So with that in mind, let's start off with you, Dota. What do you believe the percentage that you're going to give ESG of winning the whole thing is? What number do you give?
ESG, I don't know, 5%.
5%, okay. GG, what do you think they might win? Guardian Gaming gets in what percentage out of you?
We're doing me again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're going you.
Let's see. Guardian Gaming, we'll just keep it as everything is the same as today. I'd give them like 40. Yeah. 40%,
alright. Have Faith?
Probably same 40.
Okay. Never back down.
I'd have to give them like... Actually, let me do... Sorry, Guardian at 50. Have
Guardian
Faith 40.
at 50.
And then we'll do Never Back Down to like... I want to say like 70.
Whoa. Okay, 70%. That is big, alright. All One Lane and Anima, in that order.
All One Lane, probably like, 10%. And then Naughty Nips, I'd have to probably give the same 70.
Okay.
Does it have to add up to 100?
No, it does not. It can go past 100.
Well, okay then. I was
Alright.
like, you're way off, man. Where'd you
Alright.
get that?
We're looking at what,
What's
600%?
Alright, so
300%, man.
Like I said,
300% luck.
my
Okay.
two teams are Never Back Down and Naughty Nips. Those, if
Okay,
one of those
okay.
two teams don't win, I'll be super surprised.
Okay, alright. So excellent. So since you questioned Fridge, you're up next. ESG, what do you think their chances of winning the whole thing are?
I'm gonna give ESG about a 10%.
Okay. Guardian Gaming,
Guardian, I'm going to put it at about 35%.
35%. Fair enough. Have faith. Do you have faith, or have you lost all of your faith?
I have enough faith to put them at about 35% as well.
Okay, never back down.
Never back down. I'm going to keep them right around 35% as well.
Very even. Okay, all one lane.
All one lane, I'm putting them right around 5%.
Okay.
Wow.
And Anima, now Naughty Nips.
And Anima, Naughty Nips, we're going to put them at about 50%.
Alright.
It's a-
For
Have
that
you ever
react.
been to Vegas, bro? You got to keep the odds low so you win money.
yeah, Dota.
Oh,
You hear that, Dota? Yeah.
Alright, Army, what do you got to say to that? ESG, let's start off with them.
I think they got a good 20%.
Alright, generous
For
man
me.
here. Generous man, Guardian Gaming.
I think they have about a 10%.
Ouch.
The flame,
Uh.
Jesus Christ!
I did talk about them negatively before.
All right.
Army, you've gotten in trouble for this before.
I did get in
Great.
trouble for
Something
this before.
against-
I did get in
What-
trouble for
Alright,
this. I am
alright,
fully aware
Army.
of the flame.
Have
Fully aware.
faith. Have faith. Have faith.
Okay, I'll get on to have faith. I think 20% as well.
Double
Okay.
guarding. Simon just made a barbecue because he is on fire.
Never back. Did I just say never back down?
100%.
Oh.
Sorry,
Oh my
110%.
This is one of those 100%.
Biased
Okay.
opinions
seriously
confirmed.
I
Biased
seriously
opinions.
want whatever this guy is smoking. That would get me through a couple days
I
of
like
work.
Oh,
how
God. Okay.
everybody is reacting to me.
All one lane.
Can't imagine why.
Let's see. All one lane.
Where do you put all
I
one lane,
also, I think it's
200%?
I think it's also 20% actually. Yes, I think
200?
20.
20%.
Okay.
20%.
Yeah,
And
20%.
Anima now Naughty Nips.
I would dare say they should have at least a 60% chance. From what I looked at.
Alright, so favorites across the board so far.
Biased
Manwalrus.
Yep. Who are we starting with?
ESG.
0%.
Wow, okay.
Oh my god!
Wow.
A realist.
You know what? This is.
And just when you thought I was flaming,
It's not to flame. It's just that they're the lowest. I believe they're the second lowest
he
seed.
says.
No
Okay.
matter who wins, they're the second lowest seed. Sorry. So no matter who wins, they're gonna play. Like if they win, even they play Guardian, and I just don't think that they'll be able to make it to the finals. It's not like the chance that they'll get out of quarterfinals. It's just more the chance that they'll win.
Yeah, but I mean, still, you never heard of the Miracle on Ice Man? Like, it can't give them 0.
Okay,
know-
Guardian Gaming.
Guardian Gaming. Ooh, 40%.
40%. Have faith.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a
30%.
halo on top of your head? Or alright, maybe half a quarter of a halo. Never back down.
30%.
Oh, come on!
Boy!
Alright, fair enough. Okay.
You give ESG 0, what do you give all one lane?
I give them 15.
15.
Wow.
Okay.
Everybody's shooting for
Whoa.
low.
If the
Shooting for
stars
low
could
numbers.
Oh,
align,
no.
they could.
This
They
ain't
could have
gonna
their-
fly. This ain't gonna fly.
Okay.
You'll see.
And Anima United, now known to Nips.
Probably. I'm gonna give them 70%.
Oh,
And Naughty Nips. Yeah,
Alright.
you can see
These
his favorite
numbers.
right there.
these
These
numbers are
so
beautiful.
skewed. Jesus.
Yeah. Especially mine. But Manwalrus, my goodness, I've never thought anybody would be like out of 100 or out of any percentage to go like statistically so low. for most of them. I mean, I did the same thing, I guess, so maybe I should stop talking.
Well, no, now I've just you realize what I've done, right? Now I've just paved the way for ESG to win everything.
Yeah.
What up?
Just
ESG Dark
to like,
Horse.
prove me wrong.
I'll
Trust me,
take
they're
that
gonna.
Okay, I'll close the percentages up with my wonkier percentages. I'm gonna stick and say that ESG 10%. I think we can all agree that, generally speaking, across the board, numbers seem to be low for ESG. Maybe they can shock us. I'm gonna bring out the highest number, ignoring armies so far. I'm gonna say Guardian Gaming actually have an 80% chance of winning the whole thing.
Oof.
I feel like that they are they're going to be practicing hard enough one where they can make it happen. Equally to that, I'm going to say have faith. I have faith, but I don't want to sound like I'm insane and cannot be listened to. So I'm going to say 50% have faith.
Blaze, it
I
doesn't
feel
look,
like it is.
the grass isn't really that, like, the grass is actually greener than you think, man. It's okay
It
to be a
probably
little
is.
crazy.
A little crazy. All right, 70%. There we go.
Ah.
There we go. So have faith at 70%. Never back down. I'm going to say a solid 50%. They can definitely make it happen, but equally not. I'm going to say all one lane 15%. They can screw everything up in the bracket. And I'm actually going to give the lowest of all the numbers for Enema, now Naughty Nips. I'm going to say they have a 10% chance with ESG. I think whoever their quarterfinal opponent is, they will lose to. They did amazing in Super Week, but Super Week was best of ones. In the initial split, when they were doing best of threes, they did not impress me.
Oh, Blaze, my sweet summer child. I like how you say, I'm not going to say anything crazy, and then you give Guardian Gaming and Half Faith 70% with Naughty Nips at 10. I don't know what you're doing, man. I don't get it.
You know, Army just sent me something in the mail real quickly. It's an Amazon package. It's got this really weird branding on it, but I think it's some type of weed that he was talking about earlier.
Trusted
So
company,
I had to take a
swear,
quick.
trusted company. Trusted.
It is the
Yes.
stickiest of the icky, apparently. Because
Sticky
Okay.
icky.
Naughty Nips at 10%?
Best of ones. That is all I gotta say. However, I think this will prove very interesting as we move onwards, and when quarterfinals are finished, we'll see how these numbers change. Obviously, if a team's out, 0%, obviously, but we'll see how it forms.
I'll have you know that a best of 3 series is just 3 best of 1s.
That's true.
Well, yes, it's one way to word it.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean,
Well, I mean, he could be wrong actually. In best of
Well, it
three,
might
you
only
actually
be
take 2
2.
games. Yeah.
That's true.
But I mean, he's not entirely wrong. Like, it can become 3 games.
see, my thing is, I like what you're going with, Blaze. It was best of ones, now they're moving to best of threes. I like that. I'm picking up what you're putting down. But the thing is with Naughty Nips, their roster changed pretty significantly right before Super Week, correct? Am I wrong?
I think you are correct on that.
Yeah, they had like 2-3 new people. So I mean, that's a 60% turnover rate. That's a pretty big change. I think HamCam. I don't know how he is in shot calling, but I'm assuming he's got to be a decent shot caller since they've put him in support, even though he's a mid laner, right?
Yeah, and that's one of my qualms with Naughty Nips here is that HamCam, amazing mid laner in my opinion, but I feel like he's yet to impress me on support, like, for example, say Jinx to Victory has.
No, I concur with that. But I thought
All
Little
right.
Pippo did pretty good. Row, which not sure of that name, but he played well.
Well, we should probably at least mention one more thing, like a little bit of a contextual thing with Fridge and the whole Guardian Gaming thing, because we have been, like, I've said something quite rude about Guardian Gaming, and then everybody's kind of feeling a little bit more iffy on Guardian Gaming's performance as well, so we should probably enlighten a little bit on the involvement with Fridge and Guardian Gaming and just, like, make that a little bit better known, as well as some minor contextual stories for just about everybody. Something, you know, basic enough to, like, get that point across that everybody can understand why everybody is up to this point and why we're all thinking these hypotheticals to begin with.
So, well, we could do like some simple versions to that, I think, and we can just explain that super quick. So I'll just go ahead and say a couple of things about some teams, and then I could be interrupted anytime you guys feel like you want to correct me, because that's usually how it works anyway. So,
So, that's the quick story with Guardian Gaming and why we've said we said our piece about what's going on with them.
All right. So that's going to be the end.
Oh, I have one final thing. I just
Or,
want
okay,
to.
never mind. Then it's not. Army wants to say something.
Very final thing.
So he doesn't put it to sleep.
Just for everybody to know, when this gets uploaded, we are doing this based off of previous intelligence of information that we've learned in the past. We haven't caught up to recent information. Therefore, if it happens to be, Hamcam's now the mid laner again, we wouldn't know at this time. We aren't completely caught up to their roster updates yet. Just that's it. That's all.
Yeah, we're probably going to be extremely wrong about at least 5 or 6 things. So
if not 5/6 of the things we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe even,
not wrong.
Maybe even
No.
5/6 of the things.
Not me.
You never wrong, Dota?
Nope.
Well, all you got to do is disagree with Army.
Well,
True.
I was once in 4th grade, but I don't like to talk about it.
All right, I think that's a good note to end on.
Agreed.
Then, for the thing.
Now on to interviews. I'm going to be doing a brief interview with a representative from each team. I'm here with Jinxed Victory, obviously, the support for Have Faith and their representative. For time's sake, we're going to keep it short, and I'm just going to ask you, why is Have Faith going to win?
Why is Have Faith going to win? Well, to answer your short question, I'll give you a short answer. I think that we do have the most dominant players in all the roles, and I think we can take clean games, and I think overall, there are small factors that just contribute to our wins overall, like vision, objective control, wave control, little things. And I do think that does make us overall the superior team in the league.
Yeah, so obviously there's been a decent amount of doubt after you guys started out so strong and then you kind of fell off. Seems like you guys didn't do too well during the Super Weeks. How are you I assume you guys have been playing better recently, is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. It was a little bit of a hitch during Super Week, but I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't have issues sometimes? There's whatever was going on is resolved, and at this point, I think we're on a one-way track upwards at this point. And I think that whatever problems we did have made overall everybody's ability to work together and trust each other a lot stronger. And then in the end, that's going to make us a stronger team, I think.
Here with Greenbois, the representative for All One Lane, and you guys are the 6th seeded team out of 6 teams. How are you guys going to pull off the underdog story and win out?
I know we're the 6th seed, but I'm gonna say the way we played for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure we could have seeded way better than that if we played the exact same way we did the entire season. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna come out on top on Saturday. I don't really give Have Faith a chance, to be honest.
Yeah, you guys are at least my personal dark horse pick, I think, if Have Faith keeps their downward spiral going that they had in Super Week. I think you guys have a pretty good chance. But I know you guys have had significant improvement since the beginning, and you guys have had a pretty stable roster too, all things considered. So how have you guys just steadily improved over the course of the season so far?
Well, let's just say that All One Lane was made 1 week before the season began, and we didn't really have any solid roster. So when we tried out some people and we really got the roster we wanted, even though it was silvers and bronze, I have one point I was the only gold in the team. So when we're facing gold teams, it was pretty hard. But we got a chemistry going with a solid roster. So yeah, that's how we really work down.
All right, so All One Lane hoping to pull off the upset versus Have Faith. Let's say you do that, then you guys would play Guardian, I believe. So how are you guys gonna win everything if that happens?
Well, I just trust in our roster. I think Hero of Termina can carry us to the victory. As same as Kid of Fire. I'm pretty sure we got the win. We got the win going in our favor. So I just like if we win against Have Faith. Trust me, Guardian Gaming won't stand a chance.
Okay, so I'm here with Fridge, obviously for the interview as the representative for ESG, and based off the roundtable, ESG, from what obviously people that have been analyzing and whatnot has said, you guys seem to have at least what we thought was the lowest chance of advancing. Why is ESG going to win?
Actually, I like what sorts of efforts we've been putting forward. Over the past couple of weeks, we had that off week. We've worked a lot on our weaknesses during that time. I like what we're doing with our top lane. We don't run a single top laner. You have to be ready for either of us to come at you, and we both have very different champion pools, so you got to be ready to play against like 15 different champions in the top lane. So that's a nice plus for us, and you never know. We could switch it up from game to game. Game 2, maybe I'll be playing, or maybe Game 3. Maybe I'll play Game 1. Maybe Maltix will play all 3. You never know, but you do have to prepare for it. So that's always a nice advantage to have, especially going into a playoff scenario or a best-of-3 situation. On top of that, I feel like our bot lane has been relatively consistent for the most part lately. A couple of an off game here, an off game there, but I feel like they've settled in pretty well with the return of JB in the bot lane and BJ's moving into the AD carry spot. Sivian's performed pretty well most of the time in the mid lane. I think all around we perform well individually. We just have worked really hard on coming together as a team going into the late game, and I think that's where it's going to show a difference.
Now, I'm here with the Spider Queen, representative for Never Back Down. You guys are going up against ESG this weekend.
Uh-huh.
So, why are you going to win?
They're trash, and we're not. It's pretty simple.
Alright. And you don't want to elaborate at all? Or
I think we're just better players than them.
maybe not ESG then. Why are you going to win the finals?
Because we're just better players. Since the team was currently formed, we literally haven't lost a game. We have been undefeated since the current team has been formed, so it should be pretty easy, hopefully.
Alright, so speaking of the spicy drama, if All One Lane wins their series versus Have Faith, you guys are gonna be playing Enemy United, whatever their name is now. You guys are gonna be playing them. What do you think of that?
I can't wait to fucking destroy them. Like, I think every one of them thinks I'm a Smurf, and they always permaban my Jhin. It's so funny. It's a waste of a ban. It's hilarious. And they're fucking trying to trash talk me into fucking trash talk thread, and they can't even do a good job of it. It's pretty funny.
Alright. You have any final message? Anyone?
NVD is probably just gonna destroy House.
Now for the part you've been waiting for, MVPs. And without further ado, here is your BSGCS Season 1 All-Star team. Fridge in the top lane, GVG in the jungle, Hamcam in the mid lane, BJ at ADC, and Jinx to victory on support. Here are all the runner-ups in each position as well. Congratulations to all of you. Now, moving on to the overall MVP, I'll read off the top 5. In 5th place, Hero of Termina. In 4th place, the Spider Queen. In 3rd place, Fridge. In 2nd place, Jinx to victory. And your overall MVP is, drumroll please, Hamcam. I've also got Hamcam in here for an interview. So, Hamcam, obviously you've been selected as the overall MVP for the entire league, obviously, by a large margin as well, too. Like, no one came remotely close in either mid lane or overall, because you also did win it for mid lane in particular. I have a couple questions, right? Starting with, I guess, a general one. What's your season been like in general?
You know, it's been pretty good. A few ups and downs, but mostly it's been pretty solid. It's kind of swapping a lot of roles. I think I've played every role except for AD carry so far, so kind of just all over the place, but I guess my highest highs were in mid so far.
Yeah, it does seem that a lot of the reason you did get picked as MVP is that you've been able to play basically effectively every position at a very high level, right? So how and you've also been on a lot of teams. So how has the constant team shuffle really been? Because you've been on this is number 3.
Yeah, this is team 3.
Yeah.
It's been interesting because on Guardian it was kind of just the they would play safe and they would just wait for me to carry, so it was kind of fun on there, but at the same time a little stressful. So swapping over to always hostile was supposed to just be a little bit more casual, but it wasn't really working out. So Barbie contacted me to join them, and it's nice being on. God, what are we called? Naughty Nips now? It's nice being on them just because it's the laid back environment I was kind of hoping for, but it's also a lot more serious than Always Hostile was.
Yeah, I was going to ask you which team you liked the best, but you kind of answered that. So you played all these roles, right? Which one's your favorite?
Definitely top lane, but only in certain metas. Like the meta before, when I was first on Guardian for top lane, was just I was so ridiculously out of my meta that it was terrible. That's why I ended up moving mid. I'm not into this whole like hyper carry bruiser top meta. I like playing Gnar and Maokai and Zac and Nautilus and all the boring top laners. But now that we're finally moving back into a tank meta, I think top is definitely where I prefer to be.
So your pocket pick, right, you'd say, is definitely the Zac.
Yeah.
How have you made Zac top work really after the rework? Because I know it used to be a thing sort of before the rework, but immediately after, obviously, when he was his numbers were awful, I saw it and it didn't look very good. I haven't seen it since, but that might just be because Zac is banned in every game.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, is it any different? Is it easier? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it more difficult?
I find it's weird because it polarized his matchups a lot more. Some of his matchups that used to be just ridiculously garbage are somewhat doable now, like Fiora and Poppy, just because you have ways to play around their ability to counterplay you. But then, so you get into like a range matchup, and you have no way to poke them through the minions like you used to, so you're actually just completely worthless. So it's not really something you can just blind pick or first pick. You really have to be smart about it. But I don't know. It's one of those things where if you're good with it, and you know how to outplay the opponent, you'll at least be viable.
So there was a lot of discussion in the roundtable that we had earlier about the old Guardian gaming style and whether or not that's changed, of just like go to late game, and there was some speculation about who was actually calling that. I was wondering if you could clear that up, because I'm not sure how entirely accurate it was. Also, because of that and the fact that Army droned on, interrupted about it for 7 minutes, I sped it up to about 2,000%. So if you could give a summary, that'd be great.
Right. So, the nice thing about the Guardian guys is that they have a decent understanding of what not to do, but at the same time, they're not necessarily overwhelmingly great at making a lot of strong plays on their own. So, and I'm not that great at that either. So when you have a team of 5 people that aren't really that great at making plays, but they also are good at not screwing up, it kind of makes it so that the whole team has to just kind of survive for a while until you hit that point where you just win. So, and early on we had a lot of issues where we could have done things and we just didn't realize it, and we started fixing that a lot especially right before I left. But it's kind of just what the team can do as players wasn't exactly in line with winning the game in 26 minutes. I mean, on occasion I think we did that against All One Lane, but before they really started picking up their stuff, that wasn't too hard.
Any message that you'd like to give to the league in general?
Probably just keep playing. I don't know. I think a lot of the league is so worried about, being the best and winning that they forget about the fundamentals. So I guess just keep playing, learn your fundamentals, learn to play like a bitch, learn to play to not lose instead of trying to win at first, and then you can slowly go into working towards fast wins and really cool plays. It seems like a lot of the league is focused on the wrong things.
Now for another announcement. The week after finals, we're going to be doing an all-star game. A best-of-1 fun match between a team of staff and the 5 all-stars, so be sure to stick around for that. And that does it for the quarterfinals pre-show, and be sure to tune in to our 2 playoff matches this coming weekend.
Hamcam likes his late game champions. That he does, and he certainly wants to play late game every single time when he gets. Prime example was his Vigar. Right. Hamcam was really good at it too. Right? Yeah. Sorry. Carry on. Cool. Hamcam ended up moving Ship over to another team, and then I believe settled finally in Naughty Nips. Is that correct, Fridge? Where you? He went over to It's team. Yeah. Always hostile. Yeah. And yeah, always hostile. For I think it was only a week or 2 there. When they pulled off the greatest bait ever, they just stomped Guardian and then lost all their other games. It was an impressive, because that was their first loss, I think, if I remember correctly. That was their first time they ever been surprised. It was actually they joined late in the season. Yeah. And beat Guardian right off the bat. Yeah, it was really strong and then just kind of fell off. Fun stuff with them. Anyway.